Welcome to the Natural Visionaries, the podcast where we redefine success in motherhood and in business through faith, purpose, and community. I'm Anna Bordner. I'm a mom, I'm an engineer, I'm an entrepreneur, and a firm believer that God has uniquely called us to create a life that aligns with His vision, not the world's expectations. Here, we have honest conversations with moms who are building businesses, raising families, and living out their purpose as visionaries, making an impact. So if you're ready to embrace a life of faith, freedom, and fulfillment, you're in the right place. Hi, Lauren. Welcome to the Natural Visionaries podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Me too. I'm excited to be here.
I know, me too. Okay, so I feel like a novice with you here because you are like pro podcaster with this beautiful podcast. And your podcast is called Broken to Build. So Lauren is a podcaster. She's an aspiring author. She's a mom of three. Her husband runs a whole soccer league, like a Christian based soccer league in North Palm, based out of North Palm, Florida. And Lauren and I are friends from Jupiter, and we have a
Yes.
lot in common, and just a lot of friends in common. And she's just doing big things over here, so I'm pumped to have you on.
Oh my gosh, you're so
So,
sweet. Thank you.
welcome. And I know I just gave you a little intro, but maybe pop on and tell me a little bit about yourself, what projects you're working on these days, a little bit more insight about your own podcast and what that looks like for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm super pumped to be here. I'm honored that you would ask me to come on. Like you said, I'm a mom of three. My husband runs a soccer specific missions organization. We are in 6 states now with that, and we have one international location, Haiti. So God's favor has just been on that, and my husband works really hard. So that's been really cool. And then our kids are 16, 14, and 11, two boys and a girl. And I have a podcast called Broken to Build. And the heart behind that is really my husband and I were in church ministry for 13 years. And I felt like a lot of that space, it was hard to have real, authentic conversation. So I wanted to create a space where we could like talk about real things. Like we love God, but we could talk about real things. So that's the heart behind it, and that the Lord always uses our brokenness and our authenticity in that brokenness to build us into his likeness and also equip us for what he's called us to build here on earth, whether that's business, family, community, motherhood, like all of it. So that's kind of the heart behind that. That's been really good. It's been maybe 6 months or so.
And it's beautiful. You guys need to like go and watch it on video. It's so good.
Well, thank you. It's totally God. He like literally hand delivered a producer to me, and he's been great. So that's been really cool. And then I have a manuscript right now. I felt like the Lord asked me to write a book, and I kicked and screamed and didn't want to. And so finally I was like, fine. Um, and so that is at a publisher as we speak. I don't know if they're going to publish it, but they have it. And so I have really um, feel like I just put it into God's hands. I'm like, you know what, God, like you led me to this and you asked me to do it, and the outcome is up to you. I did my part, and whatever you want with this is fine.
Open hands.
Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I love it. So, what you have this podcast about being broken and then rebuilding afterwards. I'm sure something triggered that. You probably have a whole episode that you've done on your own story, but maybe
Yeah.
just a little nutshell version.
Yeah. Okay, so nutshell version would be, I think a lot of us go through things, and I believe that we were made in the image of God, which is mind, body, and spirit. And I realized the other day as I was talking to my husband, I was like, I have gone through things in each of those categories. So I have gone through anxiety and depression. I had postpartum with all of my kids, but I struggled with anxiety and depression kind of a little bit before that, but more after that as well. So that was the like emotional side. I had Lyme disease for 12 years. So I struggled physically for a long time, and the Lord's definitely healed me. I'll still have, I'm still healing. I've done a lot of natural therapies, and they have been amazing. And I just did one and I feel so good. But then I have days where my body is still healing. The guy that I saw recently said, it could take up to a year for your body to fully heal, your nervous system to fully heal. So I have that in the physical. And then my husband and I, more me probably, went through some pretty traumatic church hurt. And that's not always talked about. But so in the spiritual sense, I really went through it where I had to deconstruct my faith and be like, okay, am I going to choose this? Because these, like, people are people and we're all broken and we all have stuff. And so really brought my faith down to like the brass tack of like, okay, am I choosing God? Like, and so anyway, that's what the book is about. It's called Reconstruct Your Faith. Um, and it's all about that. So me in a nutshell, I feel like I've kind of seen challenges on all of the aspects. Um, and okay, so what was your question?
No,
Sorry.
that's exactly it.
Okay.
Because I feel like even with each piece that you're talking about, you emerge as this new version of yourself
Mhm.
as you're growing, and God
Yeah.
just like peeling away these layers that he wants you to. So as you grow into this version that he wants you to be in your most healthy and effective form. But touching on the Lyme disease, is that what triggered you to start looking at your own natural healing business? And maybe explain what that is a little bit more and
Yeah.
what led you
Uh,
to that.
yeah. So I help the body detox using frequencies. So
Cool. So
that
this is your
is,
other, like you do a podcast and it's not related to this, but I wanted to bring this up because I think it's cool. So,
yeah. So that is what I was always into natural methodologies before that. So I was raised by my mom, who has always been very natural. We have lots of chiropractors in our family. We
same.
have always kind of had that natural lean.
Mhm.
And when I found out I had Lyme disease, which was only from the Lord, I was in search because the conventional medical community doesn't really have anything to offer when you have Lyme disease. Like they'll put you on long-term antibiotics for 2 years, but that's about it. And I didn't see any places where that was actually successful, because conventionally they would say, well, you have it and you're always going to have it. And I don't believe that. And I believe that our bodies were created to heal. And so I did lots of different natural modalities and I found the frequency therapy, and that has been huge in my healing and detox. And so, yeah, so that's how I kind of got into that.
That's so interesting. I remember my sister, she's a chiropractor and she had an office in Jupiter for a while before she moved to Orlando, and she would do frequency therapy. She had these little like it almost looked like, I feel like it was like a tongue scraper looking thing, but you clanged it and it
Yeah,
was
so
like
that's
frequency.
sound frequency. I
Yeah.
use like electrical current.
Cool.
So I electrocute people.
I
I'm
electrocute
just
people
kidding.
for a living. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fun. It's
They pay
fun.
me for it.
Yeah, yeah. But I've seen it do amazing detoxing, healing things. And I know I just went to in November, I went to a Lyme specialist, and he's a natural. I flew across the world. I mean, it felt like the world. Like he's literally on the other side of the United States, as far away from South Florida as you can be. And he was like, I can tell that you've been doing things to detox your body, because he goes, 95% of people that come here have Lyme disease. They have these 7 co-infections. They have this virus in their liver. And he's like, you're fairly healthy and you only have a few of the co-infections and you don't have the virus in your liver. So he's like, whatever you've done, like, has really been helpful.
And
Um,
how important is that? Because with Lyme disease, I'm sure it can turn into brain fog, fatigue. I don't know the
all
specific,
of it. Yeah, yeah,
it, what it looks like.
yeah.
But I talked about this briefly with Betsy, who I just interviewed earlier. But I went through a whole season of my life where I just was living with horrible brain fog and fatigue, where I could not get out of bed in the afternoons and was just so dependent. And granted, I still enjoy my coffee in the afternoons, but just so dependent on like a 24-ounce cold brew coffee, which who knows how much caffeine is in that
Yeah.
every day. And you can't think straight. So for
Yeah.
you to be detoxing yourself and working on yourself, and it clears your mind and it clears the path for you to do things like your podcast.
Yeah.
So I just think that's worth just noting and just saying
Yeah.
like, good job, you're doing a great
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
job.
it's detox. We all need to be doing detoxing all the time because of all the things that we're exposed to. So my husband comes from a very conventional minded background with his parents are very medical. They think I'm nuts. And so when I sign my husband up for things, he's like, okay, like he'll just go along with it. I'm like, here, drink, here's frequency, here's this, here's oil. Like he calls them snake oils if
Yeah.
he's not feeling good. He's like, rub me down with your snake oils. Like, so yeah, so it's been really fun, but yeah, I think we all need to be detoxing constantly for what
I
we get
got
exposed.
Patrick to do a parasite cleanse not too long
Yeah.
ago. He's like, what is coming out of me?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Um, so kind of getting back, like maybe backtracking a little bit, but we mentioned how each version of yourself is, um, well, you're kind of
Different.
redefining what you look
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
throughout as you go, right? So how do you define success in motherhood, or whether it be your business or, I know you don't homeschool, but you did for a little while. How do you define success now, and maybe how has that changed over the last few years, or since you became a mom?
Yeah.
I know you're in like a older season of life. You got like high schoolers and almost a middle schooler, right?
She'll be our youngest will be in middle school next year.
Yeah, so maybe encourage someone who's what
Yes.
that looks like for
Which-
like it looks different than what I have. Like I have a toddler and an almost middle schooler.
Yeah.
So what it looks different for me than it did a couple years ago even. But what does that look like for you now? What's a successful day for you?
Yeah. I would say when Aaron and I got married, we were young, we were 22. And I had no intentions of being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to do that. I wanted kids, but I was like, I'm going to work. I want my own, stuff outside of the kids. And so we ended up getting pregnant 6 months into marriage, which was very early, very young. So my oldest was born the month after I turned 24. And my desire after he was born, my desire changed from I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom to if I mess up raising him, like that's what I'm going to regret. And I think Aaron kind of felt like a little bit not betrayed isn't the right word, like a little bit like bait and switch type thing. He's like, you always said you wanted to work. And I'm like, I did, but now, I don't like, I can't imagine putting him in daycare and being like, okay, bye, see you at 6. And I know some people have to do that. Like that's where you're at. And you might make enough money to do that. When we were 24, I was the primary breadwinner. I made $10 an hour at an advertising agency. Aaron was a full-time missionary. He made $500 a month. So like it didn't make sense for us to like I couldn't afford daycare and working. It wouldn't have made sense.
And you
Uh,
went to PBA, right?
we went to Florida Southern.
Oh, okay. And then
Yeah.
what was your degree?
Communications.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we got married a year out of college and pregnant pretty quick after that. And like I said, I was working at an ad agency, which was kind of my dream. Like I wanted to be on the account side of an ad agency. And but God had different plans. And so yeah, so my desire started to change. I was like, I want to be home with my kids, and it was a hard choice. And I don't think motherhood, like I don't think there's an easy choice. Like I think working is hard and I think staying home is hard. And so Aaron would come home after, like when I would had been home all day with the kids, and he would be like, I don't think you're happy, like you don't seem happy. I'm like, I have been home with these kids all day.
Hey.
I just need to take them for like 15 minutes. I just need like a break, because motherhood, I think in general, is like truly dying to self all the time. And if it's not my kids that needed something, it was I love my husband very much. When we get in bed at the end of the night, he's like, "Hey," I was like, "I don't want to
Don't
be
touch
touched
me.
for like 5 minutes." So I think motherhood, it still is constant sacrifice even as they get older, but the seasons change. And so now I actually love now, and I've only had one desire. So when you ask like what success is, like my one desire for my children, I have never had, I don't care what they do, I don't care where they live, I don't care any of that stuff. I mean, I hope it's near us and we get to see them, but I've told them like my one desire is that you guys love and serve the Lord, and that's it. And that's what I call a win for my kids, because he can direct them so much better than I can, and where that is, where they go, who they marry, what they do, all the things. And I'm like, if you love and serve God, then that's a win. Like that's all I care about. And so I think that success, like I love that the Lord has given me this, like the podcast now and the book, like to things to steward, because I'm getting not close to the end, the finish line, but my oldest is going to college. Like he's leaving in 2 years. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like it goes, the days are long, but the days are long, but the years are really fast. And so
I'm
I,
realizing that now with the number three, who's so much younger than the other ones. I'm like, oh, 2-year-olds are cute.
yes, yes. And your olders were so close together that
Yeah, I
like,
don't know what happened the first few years of
yeah,
their lives.
it's just a blur, really. So
Lots of wine and just like surviving.
yes, yeah. So I think a lot I'm thankful with what the Lord's given me right now, because I feel like after I've gone through the emotional stuff and the physical stuff and the spiritual stuff and all the things, and now I feel like he's opening up things that I can do that allow me to not only feed my soul, but then pour out in the places that I feel called to. And my
Yeah.
kids are now in school. So I have the space to do it.
Yeah,
And
and that's such a big
still,
deal. I feel like you get pressured at church from the start. You join a church, you have preschoolers or newborns, and everyone's like, serve, serve. And you're like,
yeah,
I can't. Like
right.
sometimes there's like season, maybe just encourage people. Like there's also seasons for serving in different capacities. So yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God.
Like now I feel like my brain space is finally available and the kids are in school now where I can do things like this podcast, or we
Yes,
co-teach a kids fitness class at a Christian mission gym. And so I'm like,
I love
my
that.
brain is available and my time is
Yeah.
available for that now. And it wouldn't have been a year ago.
Yes.
So
Yes. It's absolutely seasonal. And whatever that is, in the church or out of the church, like right now, this is the first time I've got more time as far as to do the things that I feel like God's called me to do. But this is actually the first time that Aaron and I have not been active in making a Sunday service happen in like 12 years. So we are actually, as far as churches involved, like we're on the prayer team, and that's about it. Like, and it is so nice to have that space now, because Aaron's got a demanding ministry. I've got things that are taking up more and more of my time. And it's like, oh, there is a season. Like we used to serve all the time. We used to be an integral part of making church happen.
yeah,
And now, even though my kids are older and I have that space, God has filled it with something
with other
different.
ministries,
Yes,
really. Yeah.
yes. So that now we take a step back, and it has been really nice to take the step back from that and just and attend and pray for people and all the things without like making church happen every week, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, no, it totally does. I love that. So we touched on this a little bit, but your faith influencing the way you approach motherhood and even this entrepreneurship aspect of your podcast. And even, I know you're not as involved with Aaron's soccer ministry,
I don't
but
know much about soccer.
I know.
I
So
don't-
I didn't know. I wanted to give you the space to talk about it if you wanted to. But like, how has your faith influenced the way you approach what you do? How's it?
it influences everything in my life. So, when I first started the podcast, I was talking to my producer and he was asking me, it was very, very newly forming in my head of what I was kind of like envisioning and seeing. And he was like, "So, is this a religious podcast?" And I was like, "Not really." But I said, I can't separate me from my faith. Like, God, like that's the most important piece of me is my relationship with Christ. And so anyway, so I was like, not really, I probably won't market it as that, but it won't be separate because I do believe that's a piece of it. And so I was kind of like not dancing around his question, but the word religious throws me off. So I
Yeah.
didn't know exactly how to answer it. And so I was
Or
like,
are you coming from church hurt and you need to not me to not use the word religious?
right, like so, yeah, and like I'm like I'm stumbling because I'm like forming this new idea and he's using a word that's throwing me off. And so I'm like trying to figure out what I'm saying and he goes, "Are you going to say the name Jesus?" And I said, "Yes." And I was expecting him to hang up because I this was the two I didn't know him. I had met him on a Google call. And I was like expecting him to be like, "Sorry, I don't work with that. Like, bye." And he was like, I ask because everything you're saying is right where I'm at in my faith. And he's like, "I really want to talk more about it." And um, so it influences everything. It influences, obviously, the book is about church hurt, healing and dealing with church hurt. So it's definitely a huge influence in that. And I think my faith not only influences every aspect of what I do, but I also think it influences the aspect of like emotional healing and emotional health. Because I don't believe if we're made in the image of God, which is mind, body, spirit, I don't think you can be spiritually healthy and emotionally unhealthy. Like they all kind of go hand in hand. And so that really drives a lot of that side as well, like getting counseling, like growing, becoming better, like all of that stuff. So, and I mentioned that because it's a big part of the book is unfortunately like not everyone is committed to emotional health. And then we are sitting next to people in church, which is great, and we think, "Well, I love Jesus and you love Jesus, and then we could all just make this work." And sometimes like you're sitting next to a super toxic person, and what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think faith just it drives every aspect of my life.
Yeah, I agree with that. So is there like a Bible verse that you love that would make sense that drives that part of you?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question. I never really thought about it, but the verse that I love is in Revelation, and it says, "We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony." So, Broken to Build is just a group of testimonies of people that have been changed, who have been in dark places or been without Jesus and have, come out of it, and it's shaped who they are. And I think even the book that the Lord asked me to write, it's a version of my testimony of that piece of my life. And so um, I really believe as we live in community, God uses he has purpose in our pain. He uses that to encourage other people. And that's how we overcome is through what Jesus did and through our testimony. So that kind of just goes with everything that I do.
Absolutely. So you do all these things. You do podcasts, or you create your own podcast. You have a frequency wellness business. You are a mom of three, which it's not easy to bring them to school every day either, because I know the
Yeah.
school's a little far from you.
Yeah.
Helping support Aaron with Impact City. How, and I hate the word balance, but like, how are you doing with all this? Do you have like habits that help you stay grounded, that help you stay focused what helps you not feel overwhelmed? Or are you
Sometimes
just
I do feel
overwhelmed?
overwhelmed. Sometimes I do. Um, I would say for the most part, though, I mean, my relationship with Christ, when I'm in the Word, like it just he grounds me. And I don't know any, like, besides getting in scripture, I don't really know any, like, I am not a good organizational person. Like, I can do my calendar and I can do all those things, but I'm not one of those moms that's like has her stuff together. Like, I'm the mom, like, you better believe if there was a letter sent home from school for something, I have missed it. Like, I am that mom that's like, oh, sorry, I'm 3 weeks late, past due. Can my kids still go to this? Because I didn't sign them up. Like, I am that mom. So I'm probably not great for the balance advice, as far as that stuff goes. But I think my relationship with Christ, and then um, the other thing that's been really helpful for me is biblical affirmations.
Yeah.
So some of them, like, I've written them out. They're on my mirror. Some, like,
This. I had
yes, we do. We actually have that.
that.
I've written out some, and they're just on my mirror, and like, I am blessed and highly favored, and all these things that when I feel overwhelmed, if it was like with Lyme stuff or my body feels like not good that day, I will say, I am healthy from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Like, and there's a scripture reference with it. So I do believe that that's a huge part of balancing when you feel overwhelmed, is staying in that mind space of, I'm favored. Like, I'm going to do what I can do and God's going to do what he can do. So the stress is not on me, where I feel, oh my gosh, I have to carry all these things, because I can't carry them.
Yeah, and I think even on from your podcast perspective, even hiring your producer is part of having this balance,
Yes.
without feeling overwhelmed. Does he deal with also like all your scheduling and everything, or how are you?
I do the scheduling, but he's amazing, and I think you're absolutely right. And when I first felt like I was supposed to do the podcast, my mom was like, "Oh yeah, you can just get a mic and do." And I'm like, I literally know nothing about anything. I can't even make. I made my first Instagram reel. It is so basic, and it took me like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I know nothing. So I'm like, you know what? My time is money, and I have to have someone to do this for me, because it would send me over an edge if I had to figure that out by myself.
Yes, I agree. I think hiring outside of your areas of expertise is so smart. I love that.
That's why I have a cleaning lady.
Yeah, I know. I did too for the longest time, but it got when I started working from home, it and doing things where I needed to not have someone in the background. I'm like, I can't, like, I need to not have one for a little while. So I'm kind
Yeah,
of in my not having one stage, but then I'm like, who's gonna clean the bathroom?
I know. I know. I get some passive aggressive jabs from certain people, like, about a cleaning lady. I'm like, I have someone she is my saving grace. Like, I don't, when I have an hour, I don't want to go deep clean the bathroom. I don't.
Nope, no.
So it's Aaron and I say it all the time, like, time is money, and like, it's worth it for me. I'd rather take a frequency client, or I'd rather do, something to make up the money.
Yeah, because your 1 hour frequency client or whatever it is going to make up for
Right.
your week cleaning or
Yeah.
whatever it is that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what has been one of the biggest challenges you faced in building this podcast or writing your book while raising your family, and how'd you overcome it?
I would say the biggest challenge has been connected to self-worth.
Really?
Yeah. Because before I wrote the book, and even still, like, I can still struggle with it now, but I think a lot of it was like, what, who cares? No one's gonna care to hear from me. Like, it was a lot of like, there's so much content out there. Why am I going to put more content out there? Like, I truly don't believe there needs to be more content out there. We have content coming out our ears. Like, why would I do this?
Yeah.
Um, the book was like, like, how does this help someone? Like,
Do you
what?
think God giving you those ideas helped you overcome that though?
I had to, yes, in some ways, because I had to do it scared.
Yeah.
I had to do it when I didn't feel like I had to do it out of obedience rather than my emotions feeling like, oh yeah, I'm good. I got this. I could do a podcast. I could write a book. Like, cool. And so they were really done out of obedience. And I feel like through that and through a lot of counseling, and he's lifted that shame and he's changing my identity. And he is definitely over the last several years has really replaced that worthlessness with his worth and his identity. So I would say that was the biggest hindrance for me doing those things. And I really like to, I'm not one that like wants to step up in front of people and be like, all attention on me. Like I'm cool to sit in the very back and like not, I'm not a put yourself out there person. That's just not, I'm energetic, but that's different than like being like
Their
when
stage.
yeah, yeah. So I remember my first podcast and I did it and then I asked my producer, I was like, so what do I need to change? Like, and he was like, Lauren, like you were made for this. Like it was really sweet. I was like, nothing? You wouldn't change anything? He's like, literally nothing. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. But I was so nervous. I was shaking because I had cameras on me. And I'm like, who's going to listen to this? Is anyone going to listen to this? Um,
Well, what a
so
good question, though. What do I need to change? Or like, give me positive feedback. And what a powerful question. Because sometimes people just forget to ask trusted people who are
yes.
professionals at what they're doing and what they need advice in, what their feedback is. So I think that in and of itself is such a powerful just tidbit from this whole interview. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's huge. Constructive criticism where we can grow with someone who has our best intentions in their heart is huge.
And then you've mentioned like therapy a few times. Is that something that you would recommend for people? What is that?
Oh my
How has
gosh.
that helped your life?
Everyone should go to therapy. Everyone. Um, It's been huge. I mean, it's my favorite therapy is called EMDR and it's I always forget what it stands for. Eye movement dissemination and reprogramming. Anyway, it's a way to release trauma from the body. Which is amazing, but then I also like we talk through things before we start the EMDR and so
So like
um
physical things it releases from your body.
it releases, yeah, because we are like, have you heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score?
No emotions or feelings buried alive never dies.
I'm reading that right now.
Similar. So yeah.
Yes. Have you read it?
Oh yeah, I have it somewhere.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm reading it right now. I'm like a couple chapters in.
Yeah, it's so good. I
So,
should pull it back out.
yeah, so that's the same, it's the same idea where we put undealt with emotions in our body and then they manifest physically.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think all of us have room to grow and we all have blind spots. And so we need someone trusted and like so I'll give you this example for with like shame and unworthiness. I thought that I never dealt with shame until after we went through all of our church trauma. Then
Mm.
I started dealing with shame. And through the Lord's like kindness and goodness, he was like, you've been operating out of shame your whole life. Like I just allowed you to see it now. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like this like we can't do anything about it till we see it. So I think that therapy is huge and I think it calls out those blind spots in us and helps us heal and get better as humans.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, friend, if you're trying to build a life that honors your faith, supports your family, and keeps you well in the process, I've got something just for you. My free guide, Purpose Driven Wellness, is packed with simple, natural ways to support your energy, focus, emotional well being, and even your productivity using essential oils and rhythms that actually work in real mom life. Whether you're running a business, homeschooling your kids, or just trying to stay grounded in a busy season, this is an awesome starting point. Grab your free copy at the link in the show notes and start creating wellness that aligns with your purpose. What would your advice be to someone on like how to find a therapist who maybe has never just maybe like a recommendation from a friend or something would be the
Yes, yes, definitely. But I think the other thing that is valuable to note is most counselors will have a conversation with you before you start seeing them. So I've had some counselors that I really connected with, and other ones that I've had a couple conversations with, and I'm like, no, you're not my person. Because someone's not for everyone, you have to find that person that you connect with. So definitely from a recommendation, and definitely call them or set up a conversation before committing to someone. And you can tell if it's not right, it's not right. And
Yeah.
you move on to finding what is right.
So good.
Yeah.
So, kind of wrapping up towards the end here, what advice would you give to a mom who feels called to start a business or maybe in this case a podcast, but struggles with fear or doubt or shame or any of these emotions that you've gone through yourself?
Yeah. I guess I would come back to what I said, like, if this is what you feel called to do, you just do it scared. Because I think, good, what's that saying? Good things don't come in comfort zones.
Oh, I like that.
And so I think a lot of times I've seen it drawn out in like someone standing inside a hula hoop. And it's like the hula hoop is the boundary of our comfort zone. And once you step out of it, it's uncomfortable, but then that gets comfortable. So then the hula hoop moves and now you have a new comfort zone. And then you have to take a step out of that to grow, or else you just stay in your stuck little first hula hoop forever and you don't
Yeah.
move. So I think, and I am by no means like I am preaching to the choir here. Like I am the most like I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't like it. And God just keeps calling me out and having me do things that I'm uncomfortable with. And so if you feel called to start a podcast, to write the book, to do, the business, the speaking, whatever it is, like if God's calling you to that, you're going to be uncomfortable and it's okay.
And didn't you say when we chatted before, you said something about how you didn't ever want to be a speaker, but then you ended up on stage anyways doing a speaking event?
Yes, that's what I told God. I was like, I will do whatever you want, but don't ask me to speak. I don't like being in front of people. And God was very patient and waited for me to come around and to surrender fully. And I was like, okay, God. And so I ended up, yeah, on a stage a couple months ago. And thankfully it wasn't super long and it wasn't, but I feel like he's just because I said never, he's gonna call me to some of
Lauren DeLoach,
this.
speaker for hire, everyone.
Yeah. Please don't call me.
So, if you could go back and encourage that younger self going through all that church hurt, what would you say?
The younger self going through the church hurt, how would I encourage her?
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of all wrapped up in the identity thing where and my older self now knows that, I care a lot less about what people think. I never was one of those people that cared fully. Like I've never really been a people pleaser. That's just not been my personality, like what I lean to. But I would say you have to be okay with people misunderstanding you and misunderstanding your intentions, and you have to be okay with that. And I think that has would have served me really well, but has served me well coming out of that. Where if people are committed to misunderstanding you or your intentions or your heart behind things, then if they don't want clarity, you just have to move on.
Yeah.
So,
You, I, I just love what you're doing, everything with your podcast and your book that's coming out. I can't wait to share it once it's published and get it out there in the world. How can people find you if they want to follow you? What is it? Instagram? Where are you on social
yeah,
media?
I'm on
Website?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things at Broken to Build.
Are you on TikTok? I need to do that.
I don't know anything that I'm doing on TikTok. Just learned how to post and that's it. I can't even find friends. I have no idea what I'm doing on TikTok.
I
But
was
I
trying
did
to
have,
change my name earlier and then I just got distracted and gave up. So
yeah, I
that's
have this
where I
sweet
am.
I have this sweet little girl that was on one of my podcasts and she's got like 100,000 followers on TikTok. I'm like, help me, please. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, so yeah, and then my website's brokentobuild.com.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you for taking the time with me today. And yeah, this was so good. Such
This,
good advice throughout it. Thank you,
yes.
Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor that you reached out. So I'm super pumped. Thanks for having me on.
Well, friends, that was Lauren DeLoach of Broken to Build. So make sure you go follow her over on Instagram or even TikTok and listen to her podcast. And she has some really powerful testimonies over on her podcast about how people use their hurt and rebuild themselves with the Lord and through the Lord. And I just think that it is so powerful and worth tuning into. So go follow her over there as well. And I will catch you guys next week.